G'day, I'm Sam and this is the Yamaha R9. Now, over the years, Yamaha files would have noticed that the letter R has meant many different things, from the very original R1 and then the R6 through to the latest models, which are kind of like a gateway drug. The R3, the R7, and now this. This is the R9. It basically takes the heart of the MT-09 triple and then bundles it together with some of the best bits and pieces from the Yamaha catalogue. Make no mistake though, this is a Yamaha in its very own right. It's said to be 50-50 focused between track and road. So today we've come to the Sydney Motorsport Park South Circuit to see just how it fares. You can skip to the different sections of the video in the time code below. Most importantly though, tell your mates, give us a like. Let's check this bike out. Okay, so we'll jump aboard the R9 in just a moment, but first some nuts and bolts for you. The all-important price, $23,199 right away, which probably puts it pegs it about $5,000 less than what I would consider it to be its closest rival, the Ducati Panigale V2S. It's very similar in terms of power, but also very similar in terms of positioning. It's a sports bike with higher set bars, lower set pegs, and more of an open cockpit. But basically what we have here is a bike that does take the best bits and pieces from the Yamaha catalogue. So the same 890cc triple from the MT-09. This engine has been so versatile over the years. We've seen it in so many different applications, and now we get to see it in a super sport bike. It's got identical power and torque outputs to the MT-09, but it has different gearing ratios. So I'm expecting that it will be a little bit livelier, a little bit snappier off the bottom. This is effectively a replacement to the R6 in Australia. I suspect it's going to be so different in character to that bike because that was so hard-edged, it was so raw, it was so focused, unapologetically so. This, I think, will be a lot more forgiving. The engine, instead of making all of its power up high, it's going to make a lot more low-down torque. I think it's going to be a lot friendlier, a bike that you can really learn the craft on and become used to. The R6, it's still available in Australia, but it's a track-only special. You can't get them registered for the road anymore due to emissions. So elsewhere on the R9, we've got KYB suspension, fully adjustable front and rear. It's actually got the forks lifted from the R1. It also has the same electronics package as the R1 as well. So the 6-axis suite of electronics, it's got anti-wheelie, it's got traction control, it's got cruise control, it's got all the handy electronics that you come to expect with these bikes. Brakes front and rear, big Brembos, 320 millimeters up front, so plenty of stopping power. Wheels as well are lifted from the R6 machine. So this frame itself is said to be the lightest, one of the lightest frames that Yamaha has produced today. It's not simply an MT-09 frame thrown into a super sport package. It offers way more torsional rigidity, lateral rigidity, and longitudinal rigidity as well. So I'm expecting a lot more stiffness and reactiveness from this frame out on circuit. In terms of the other bits and pieces with this bike, so a 5-inch TFT display, it's got all your different analytics there that you want on track. There's a lot more capability with this than we're going to sort of burrow into today. I think it's going to be a bike that the more time you spend on it, the more capability you're going to find. So that is it. Very much in a nutshell, 195 kilograms wet in terms of the overall weight, 14-litre fuel tank as well. Let's go hit Sydney Motorsport Park.
Yamaha R9. Let's go for a quick spin. Handily, I've got a bike with an Akrapovic exhaust on it, so it's definitely the noisiest one here. And there's been some reports overseas about, I guess, just a bit of a fueling issue or a bound up issue with the standard bike because of the exhaust on it. It's so bound up by all the emissions gear and everything, so hopefully that kind of mitigates that, and it sounds good in the process. But first impression, I really like it. It's quite a low seat height. I'm 5'9". I've got no troubles at all touching the ground, which is good. It is still quite a swept forward rider position, but less so than an R1 or an R6. Probably a little bit more aggressive than an R7. But yeah, clip-on bars and everything else. But yeah, I think definitely a bike, you know, you could potentially spend longer rides in the saddle without the aching back and wrists. I really like the TFT display. It's got a nice crisp resolution, everything's quite legible, easy to use. We've fiddled around a little bit with the different parameters there. You can see there's so many different settings there in terms of traction control, power, anti-lift, anti-wheelie, and all the rest. So yeah, it'll be cool to play around with those a little bit today. We are riding these bikes out of the box, and interestingly, Moto School, who were conducting this ride day today, so they did some testing a few weeks ago. They actually did play around with settings, suspension settings and all that, and ended up finding that the base setting was what worked best with these bikes anyway. So that's what we're riding today. Let's go hit Eastern Creek South Circuit. So a couple of warm-up laps to begin with. It's a very tight, twisting, technical bit of the circuit here. It's almost like a go-kart track at the back. But I think for these bikes, it's probably not a bad place to start. It'll hopefully show off their lightness and their, I guess, forgiveness as well. Yeah, look, nothing wrong with the Brembo brakes on this. They work really well. Super snappy, progressive through the lever. I think this is going to be a bit of fun. I don't want to get too excited here, but this feels very light, very approachable. This section here, you have to be so selective with lines. If you get one bit wrong, you've kind of stuffed the whole thing up. But I have to say, this bike is just so easy to flick around. 195 kilograms wet. And the engine, it's clear already, even just these warm-up laps, that it's an engine offering equal parts torque, but also top-end power. I think it's a one that sort of gives you the best of both worlds. There's the middling revs there. You give it a quick hit, no hesitation at all in terms of forward momentum. The gearing too feels quite spot on. Mostly second and third around here. There's one or two sections really where you'll reach fourth. I've got to say, the balance between front and rear, I mean, if any place was going to show it off, it's this circuit, because there's so many changes in direction. And this is really inspiring confidence, the way that it's handling everything I'm throwing at it. I'm not a track day aficionado, but already I feel really comfortable on the R9. I think the top end's it's not going to be mistaken for an R1. But then this isn't that type of bike. I think what the takeaway for me is it's not out of its depth on circuit. Is a person that rides a circuit every weekend of the year going to be happy with it? Probably not. Probably not in the same way as they would an R1, but I think for all intents and purposes, this bike really does a good job. I think the electronic parameters too are really good. I've felt the anti-wheelie do its thing a couple of times out of corners, particularly when you're trying to get on top of the bike and switch direction. ABS has been really thorough. I can feel it doing its thing. You'd be lost without that. The quick shifter, no complaints there. Traction control, barely perceptible. It's worked really well.
All right, then a few laps of the Sydney Motorsport Park South Circuit aboard the Yamaha R9. That was absolutely unreal. It is a bike. On this circuit, there's not a lot of rest. You're just between different changes in direction. There's a couple of short straightaways, but honestly, you're on the brakes pretty hard after that. But I think, in earnest, taking a step back, this feels like the perfect bike for this short circuit. And for someone like me that, I guess intermediate level rider, limited track stuff, I felt right at home on this bike. It's balanced front to rear. The engine is just a little sweetie. The middling revs in particular, which, a circuit like this, you spend a lot of time in the middling revs, it just felt right at home. Great breadth of power, really balanced front to rear. I was really happy with the braking package as well. It felt super stable under brakes. The electronics were really complementing this circuit as well. So I've really enjoyed my time aboard this bike. I think for the price, it would have been nice to maybe see it fractionally cheaper if we could have in Australia, maybe under the $20,000 mark. I think then it would be potentially the perfect bike. But other than that, very few criticisms with this bike. I found that the Akrapovic exhaust definitely livened things up, particularly around those middling revs. You didn't get a slight little hole in the power band on the standard bike, and I think that's down to the emissions gear. With the Akrapovic exhaust, that seemed to do away with that. The gearing for this circuit was spot on, and having the quick shifter, being able to go up and down as well, was a real boon on this circuit. There were quite a few times, particularly going into turn 6 here, traditional turn 6 at Eastern Creek, where under heavy brakes, banging back down into second gear, you did feel the back get quite squirmy. Again, the electronics sort of came to the rescue there. It was a bike that I felt really comfortable, really sure-footed on, and yeah, really, really happy with. I think, this is a bike that you certainly will grow into. I think the more time that people spend aboard it, the more that they're going to exploit their own limits a little bit more, get more comfortable on it as well. So this is an American spec R9. That's why it doesn't have the YZF section on the fairing there. But it's been, this is just a static display for today. But the bikes out there have been bone stock out of the box. They haven't been touched. They've got the standard Bridgestone Battle Axe tyres. All the suspension settings, the clickers and everything else haven't been touched either. And it's been bang on the money for this circuit. So that is a quick snapshot of the Yamaha YZF R9. I think we're only telling one side of the story with this bike. I honestly think Yamaha sort of said from the beginning that it's 50-50 between track and road. Well, we've done the track component. It feels right at home. It's probably doesn't quite have the ceiling of an R1, say, but I think the other side of that is that it's going to be way more fun, way more forgiving on the road. So that sort of leaves us there. We've got to, really take this out onto the road to see what it's truly capable of there. But as far as track testing goes, this is a lot of fun.